Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gentle Strength Connection GSC Live. Tonight's episode is entitled Doubt Detox, and I'm your host, Candice Ruggiero, keynote speaker, podcaster, entrepreneur, mentor, coach, former school leader, and educator. Tonight with me is my amazing co-host, Adrian Williams, and together we co-founded Gentle Strength Connection, where we empower, inspire, and help women grow. Adrian?
Thank you, Candace. Hi, everyone, and good evening. I am Adrian Williams, holistic health and wellness coach, owner of One Life Wellness Coaching, grief and healing advocate, and entrepreneur. It is my passion to help women live happier, healthier lives, which is why partnering with Candace and Gentle Strength Connection was such a perfect fit. Tonight, we're talking about self-doubt and how to detox from it. And we're so glad you're here today.
Well, let's start by talking about what self-doubt really is. So at its core, self-doubt is that inner voice that questions your abilities, your decisions, and your worth. It's that fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, and fear of not being good enough. And Adrian, one of the biggest moments in my life where I encountered self-doubt is when I pursued my second master's in aviation. All right. And that was in New York. At that time, I was new in America and I wanted to be a leader. So when I entered that class, there were mostly leaders already. There were coaches, there were specialists, and they were all already working in a district. While I was new, didn't know the school system that much. And frankly, I felt that I was one of the few minorities in that classroom. Part of me, my self-doubt in me was saying, do you even belong here? But I didn't let fear control me. And I proved to everyone that I'm as good as everybody is. And for some reason, I was able to step out of that doubt in me. And it came to a point wherein I felt that I belonged. And at the end, my presentation at the end even stood out. And a lot of a lot of my peers came to me and even congratulated me for a job well done. So I realized that self-doubt shouldn't control your ability, shouldn't stop you from doing what you want. And that was one of the experiences I will never, ever forget in my life. And while some level of doubt can be normal and even healthy, it keeps us humble and encourages us to prepare. And sometimes, Adrian, it also becomes harmful when it stops us from taking action and believing in ourselves.
Exactly, Candace. So how can you tell the difference between healthy and harmful self-doubt? I want you to ask yourself these three questions. First one is, does your self-doubt promote growth? It should encourage reflection and lead you to improve your skills. Number two, does your self-doubt motivate you to action? It should drive you to prepare more, to work harder, and seek help when you need it. And number three, does your self-doubt encourage realism? This is an interesting one. Yeah. It should help you assess your situations realistically without undermining your abilities completely. Ironically, Candace, one of the first things I ask myself when I have doubt is, am I being rational about this? Am I being realistic?
Same.
Because when I'm in a high stress situation, past experiences, when I'm wanting things to be so perfect, because I have perfectionism as my flaws, I trigger my own self-doubt.
Oh, okay.
So if I can calm my mind and really assess the root of my feelings, then I don't let the doubt actually cripple me. Metaphorically, if I don't catch this doubt early enough, it's like this invisible weight that holds me back from actually being the best version of myself.
Well, the reasons for self-doubt, I believe, vary from person to person. And most of the time, it's based on past experiences, which includes criticism and failure. Like, one of the most significant moments of self-doubt was when I remember I was asked to head the Autism Spectrum Disorder Department, ASD for short. And although teaching is really natural for me, and I've always found myself connecting and supporting students seamlessly, when I entered this role, I felt like I was out of my comfort zone.
Big step.
It is a big step. And although I've had experiences working with kids with special needs, and I love working with them, working with ASD and with the ASD population or group of students requires a more specialized instruction. There is routines. There is like really strict management and a really, it's called like an ABH approach, which I wasn't at that time. I had some experience, but not really trained for it.
Right.
And I, at that time, I really felt like I wasn't fulfilling my role, that I wasn't helping these students because I was doubting myself. And, one thing that I realized is that when you know that your abilities are limited because of whatever reason, experience, or like just the skills, it's time to step back. I was not part of me in order to fight that self-doubt is for me to step away from that position. It was one of the hardest decisions that I've made because I'm a go-getter. I never quit. I've always found myself like, really trying my best to fulfill whatever tasks I have in front of me. But at that time, it was time for me to step away. That self-doubt that I experienced wasn't just fear. It was a valid recognition. Sorry. It was a valid recognition of my limitations at that time. At that time. So, for others, they may look at self-doubt as comparison. Okay?
Huge.
A lot of women or a lot of people do that. They compare themselves with others. And others will look at someone else's success and feel like they don't measure up. It can also come from perfectionism, where we set impossibly high standards for ourselves and feel like we're falling short.
Yep. So perfectionism would be me. I'm really glad that self-doubt isn't permanent. One of the things that we work through every day to overcome is self-doubt. We have to be mindful, though, that self-doubt is harmful if we have those persistent negative thoughts. We have avoidant behavior, this paralyzing fear, which comes from not feeling good enough. And if we sit too long in that lack of confidence, and all those combined for me, just relating to the world not being perfect and things not being perfect for me, made it very difficult for me. So when that little voice in your head is a negative Nelly, tell her to get out. Don't let her pay rent in your headspace.
Yes, definitely.
Challenge your thoughts.
Yeah.
Reframe them into a more positive way. And one of my favorite examples is I can't. Growing up, we were never allowed to say I can't because everybody can if they put their mind to it. So if you find yourself one of these people that says, I can't do this, try to change that and say something like, this is new to me. I'm learning and I can figure this out.
Well, self-doubt doesn't have to control your life. Yes, it's part of your journey, but it's not the whole story. All right? It shouldn't really control every part of you. When I made a big career change and decided to become a keynote speaker, I'm gonna be honest. There was a lot of self-doubt in my heart because I was questioning myself, can I really, or could I really stand on stage in front of everyone and make an impact?
Can't tell now though, can you?
And thank you. All right. Well, no, to be honest, I still have those moments of self-doubt. I don't think that's not totally out of my system because there's still moments wherein I have to encounter something new. It could be a new audience, a new place, a new country because I'll be traveling in different countries to speak. So what I do whenever fear or self-doubt hits me is I take everything one step at a time. I call it baby steps. So with my way of doing that, I push through. I push the fear away. And over time, when I was doing that, I found my voice. And now those moments of self-doubt actually became my stepping stone to something greater.
I know what you mean, Candace. For me, something greater and one of the parts of my journey is divorce.
Okay.
Growing up, when we got married, the idea was to get married and to not be divorced. And I took a long time to leave my first marriage because I didn't want that stigma of being a divorced single mom. And I had one child, I had another child, and they didn't have the same last name. So that idea
Yes.
of having children and being a single mom, divorced, I didn't like that. But I had to really evaluate the situation, and I knew I could make it on my own, but I stayed stuck because of the opinions of others or what I thought of other people would think of me. But I finally did leave, and I did get unstuck from my life.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So, what I like about our show is how you and I are able to self-reflect on the topics. Like we get really excited when we plan our live. We get so excited on what topics to present because while we think of the topic, our mind is already working. Yeah, this applies to me. I'm able to resonate with it and maybe share a lot of my experiences because, I can relate with this topic. Mm-hmm. So that's really one thing nice about this show that, you'll hear from us real stories, real experiences. And now in this part of this segment that we are going to, we are now going to hear from two amazing women. Mm-hmm. And the first one is going to be Emily Kowalak. And the second one is Allison Wojciechowski. And they're going to share tonight how their stories, we interviewed them, they're going to share with us tonight how their stories and tips are helping them overcome self-doubt.
Yes, and as Candace said, as we get to share from our own personal experiences, it helps us grow.
Yes.
It helps us to relate to you out there. And we're finding more and more as we go along that the topics that we bring up, women's issues, societal issues, they really need to have a voice. And we're glad we're able to bring that to you. So let's start with our first guest, mm-hmm. Emily Kowalak. She's president, owner, and CEO of Bayside Bookkeeping Solutions. Mm-hmm. She's a local Florida resident, originally from Chicago, and she stepped out into her own business to conduct business on her own terms as a professional bookkeeper. And when she was asked, our first mm-hmm. question, how does self-doubt or what does self-doubt feel like to her? This is what she shared. I'm going to read you exactly what she said.
Yes.
Self-doubt often feels like an internal tug of war. On the one hand, there's a part of you that wants to take action, pursue that goal, or believe in yourself. But on the other hand, there's a louder, more critical voice, that negative Nelly, as I was talking about, that critical voice in your mind telling you, you can't, you're not ready, you'll fail. It creates kind of this mental paralysis where your desire to move forward is blocked by fear, uncertainty, and overthinking.
Wow.
Powerful, huh?
I think Emily hit the nail on the head with that description. Because you know what? That internal tug of war between your heart and your mind is something that I've experienced many times. And one incident or one experience that really stands out is when I opened my first school. I was very young. I was 23 when I opened my first school, and my heart was saying, follow your passion, follow your passion. But my mind was telling me, are you even ready for it? Do you even have the skills? Do you even have the knowledge? Because it wasn't just teaching. It was business. It was marketing. It was administration. It was everything. So that internal struggle, yes, I want this. I can do this. Like my passion and drive was very strong. But my mind was saying like, am I really ready for it? And I realized that when you doubt yourself in moments like this, all you need to do is be open to learning. There's nothing that you cannot learn. Mm-hmm. If you really reach out and find ways to learn. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it's so easy to give up. It's always easy to say, I can't do this. But honestly, everybody can. There's always resources everywhere. People or something in the internet or, and I realized that part of that self-doubt is gone because I was open to learning and I successfully opened one, not just one, but two branches.
That's amazing. And there's a lot of fear rooted in newness. When we
Yes,
don't know,
yes.
you've never done it before, of course you're going to have fear. You're going to have doubt. And if it's a whole nother field that you've never done
Yes.
before, you don't have the skills. But that's where learning comes in. When you are able to take it step by step, small steps
Yes.
to learn what you need to empower yourself through that field, it's no longer going to be a fear or a doubt. You're going to feel confidence and you're going to know what you need to know in that field.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with you because that's exactly what I experienced. You know, baby steps, learn, and then hopefully get over that setback. It's so let's move to Emily's second answer. So we asked her the question. I'm going to read it. And we asked her, how do you let go of negative thoughts? And this is how she responded. She said, letting go of negative thoughts isn't easy. But what helps me is flipping the script the moment one shows up. And if a negative thought creeps in, I try to immediately think of something positive to counter it. The more I practice, she said, the quicker I am at catching those thoughts and steering them in a better direction.
I love the concept of flipping the script. It gives you the opportunity to change how you perceive a situation and how you're going to respond to it. Just the other day, I found myself in a difficult conflict situation. It's not a place I like to be in. But instead of reacting out of heated emotions, which is a very common thing for us to do, we react instead of taking that step back. What I did is I flipped that script and I responded with kindness and positivity. And by doing that, I was able to really steer my emotions, heated as they were, into a much better direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree, Adrian. It's about catching those negative thoughts early and choosing to speak kindness to yourself instead of criticism. I think a lot of us women are too quick to judging ourselves and criticizing ourselves and not really speaking kindly to ourselves. And that the self-doubt is even stronger when you're in that moment of like criticizing yourself. I've learned the power of catching negative thoughts early. There were times when I let self-criticism take over, but when I start to replace it with kind thoughts and encouragement, everything shifts.
So we're our own worst critic.
Yes.
So we need to learn to give ourselves some grace.
We do. We do a lot of things, and sometimes we fail to appreciate the things that we do. We fail to be kind to ourselves, all the things that we've done already, and look, we focus on the things that we haven't done or we haven't achieved. Sometimes we need to pause and just say, "Hey, I achieved this.
Hey, look at how far I've come."
Yes, and honestly, I am on a continuous journey to embracing self-care and self-love. And for me, that is my most powerful way to overcome or to fight that self-doubt in me. That journey of becoming your true self, when you embrace your true self and try to find, because you can't stop. When you go on a self-care, self-love, you can't say, oh, I've done it, I'm done. No, it's a continuous process. So if you're able to put this journey, continue it every day of your life, then you're able to silence the negative thoughts and rebuild your confidence. Not just rebuild, continue and rebuild that confidence for the rest of your life.
We never stay the same. We age.
Yes.
As we age, our bodies change, our thoughts change, our whole world changes. So we need to understand and recognize that those times that are changing, that self-doubt that sits in, you have to love yourself.
Right.
And be on that journey to continue to love yourself in all phases of life.
And you don't want to be stagnant. Like she talked about change, which I totally agree. I'm a big, I know that everything changes and I change, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually. So there's really a need for us to continuously work on our growth and self-worth. Always look for your self-worth because like you said, change happens. You can be in a different situation or circumstance and change the next day. So you need to catch those moments, that negative, thoughts can enter your mind.
Yes.
And the best way to do that is really embracing yourself, kindness, self-love, and self-care.
And
Never ending.
It's a big step in rebuilding your confidence as well. And I think we've got our next guest that we're going to introduce. And
all right, yes.
So do you want to do that?
Yeah. So for now, let's hear from our next inspiring contributor. She is Allison Wojciechowski. She is the owner and the main interior designer of Allison Interior Designs. And we asked her this question: what does self-doubt feel like?
Yeah.
Oh, I love asking that question. And this is what she said. She said, self-doubt feels like I'm not good enough. Exactly what I mentioned in the beginning. That fear of not being good enough. She says, I feel like I'm not good enough, or that I don't have the experience needed to succeed. It is doubting yourself based on what other people think of you. Very, valid.
This is another one that hits very home to me. For years, I worried about what other people thought of me because I didn't like who was looking back in the mirror back at me. Allison brings up an important point that too often we let other people's opinions shape how we see ourselves. But sometimes the opinions of others are really loud, and we need to love on ourselves more. Like Candace was saying, self-love, self-care journey. It is important to learn that when you love who's looking back at you in the mirror, the opinions of others aren't going to matter so much because you're appreciating how far you've come, and the love that you have for yourself overrides everything else. Candace, what's your take on that?
All right. So for a long time, I let fear of judgment hold me back. But I realized that other people's opinions don't define my worth. Allison's insights is such a great reminder to focus on what we believe about ourselves, not what others think. Now, why did I say this? Because I remember when I started putting myself out there on social media. This really happened maybe like a few months ago when I'm really all out on like different social media platforms. I may look confident with others, but inside me, I was worried. I was worried on how others would perceive me, or what they would think about me. Like was I good enough? Was I qualified to talk about what I talked about? And the real shift happened when I stopped focusing on opinions. There will be criticisms. There will be people not agreeing with you. There will be negative comments, negative thoughts. And I'm just glad it's not really major. It's not a lot. It's mostly positive. But it's gonna happen. Not everybody's gonna like you. Not everybody's gonna resonate with what you're saying. But the shift happened to me when I, got rid of that self-doubt, is when I stopped focusing on their opinions and just started believing in my story.
Yes. Believing in yourself can really change everything.
Yes.
Candace, especially when you learn to let go of negativity. So we've got our next question for Allison, and that is, how do you let go of negative thoughts? She was really honest in her response, and she said, this is a hard one.
Yeah.
I combat negative thoughts by working out every day, either by going walking, going to the gym, or some other type of exercise. And by doing this, the negative thoughts eventually go away. Well, Allison, this is my go-to as well. I try to walk every morning at my favorite park. I try to go to the gym in the evenings. Both of them. And any type of exercise, I think, out in nature or just moving your body really helps to clear the mind. It does for me. And it gives me a sense of peace. And when I'm in that moment, especially if I don't go, but when I'm in that moment, I get some clarity and I get some enlightenment for maybe over a situation. But then if I don't go, my body is still there telling me you need to go. It compels me to go. This is a great reminder to listen to your body. Your body is an amazing machine, and that it is always telling you what it needs. So listen to it.
Well, I'm with you on that because you know very well how much I like to move. Okay.
She's a dancer.
Oh yeah, I will dance. Not a good one, but I love dancing. I dance in the car. I move a lot. I'm like, I remember my brother called me, speedy or something like that because I really like, I walk fast. I like moving around. I still also like Adrian. I like going to the gym, and I do agree with Allison on like the importance of movement in order to fight your negative thoughts. But for me, let me add another strong way for me to fight or to combat negative thoughts is really me reflecting on my resilience that I've built through the challenges that I overcome. I don't know. I just feel like challenges come on a daily basis. It can be a small one, a big one, and you really have to just keep accepting it. Because if you're going to let yourself down for every challenge that you have in your life, it could be what? You lose your car keys or like your car breaks down or like somebody said mean thing about you. And if you really worry about those things, it really will not help you build your resilience. And on a day-to-day basis, we do have problems that we have to encounter. So that's my way of fighting that negative thought. Just saying, all right, life is life. It is what it is. It's life. And I will, I will try to like deal with it head on. Head on. That moment. I try to do, and I don't take things, don't take grudges. I don't take things seriously. I change. I really do not take things seriously, which I feel really helps me fight those negative thoughts that, is common on a day-to-day basis. So, yeah, and yeah, yeah.
So don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically what we're trying to tell you. There are so many things that are so much more important in your life, and you need to really prioritize and understand what is most important. Quality time, understanding and appreciating who you are,
Yes.
and loving on yourself. Those are some really major things. So lastly, we've got another question that we asked Allison, and basically it's what's her best tip for building confidence? She says, my best tip for building confidence is to just keep going. Don't look back. Look at the ups and downs as learning experience. I love that too. And at some point, things start to work themselves out in your life. I love that. Remember that life is full of ups and downs. It's this roller coaster, and each turn is part of your journey. Confidence doesn't come from getting everything right. And I need to tell myself that all the time. You don't have to have it right. It doesn't have to be perfect. But it comes from showing up, from learning from your mistakes, failing. Failing is a big part of the journey, and growing along the way. I read a positive message every morning, whether it be spiritually through the Bible, whether it be something that I find in a book. I take steps to integrate personal development.
And I think what you both do is like you think about that quote or something. We both share it because I see you post a lot.
Yes.
So it's not just you thinking of that quote or that positive idea. Sharing it also to others is a good way that you and I are doing.
And there's times even in the morning, early in the morning, since Candace has a weird schedule sometimes because we're teaching, we'll send a text to each other. It's so important to really love on the people that are loving you and that you surround yourself with as well. I think it's important for everyone to consistently feed their mind with positive talk and motivation so that when the world around you or the people around you that aren't on the same wavelength that you are, they don't bring you down.
Yes.
You're able to rise above it and sustain that momentum that you have.
I couldn't agree more, Adrian. Confidence is a muscle we build by taking action. And even when we are uncertain of things, like Allison's advice is, what did she say? To keep going and not look back. It's just a powerful reminder that forward momentum is what matters most. And how did I build my confidence? I build it step by step, starting with small wins. You can't always go for the big wins all the time. Like I said, I love that word, baby steps.
Progress.
Yeah. Or else, progress is important. Gradual progress is progress. Exactly. Even if it's slow. Slow progress is progress. Better than nothing. And can I share with you when I started my podcast? I was scared, like the confidence in me was like, was bothering me because it's like, what am I getting myself into? Like, do I even know how to podcast? So for me, in order to build that confidence is preparation. I started first. Now, I do interviews, right? And I love having guests. But I really first started, maybe like my first 15 episodes, it was just me. And I made sure that every podcast, every time I turn on that push button, I'm prepared. I've researched the topic. It's evidence-based. So I'm not talking about just from my head. And I reflect on it through the lessons that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. And, over time, I became confident. That confidence in me in being a podcaster was stronger.
And it shows.
Thank you. And now I look forward to it. I don't panic anymore, or I'm not scared anymore. And I actually look forward to it.
I love the fact that we're able to continue to share even those moments that I would say make us look weak,
Yes.
but we're really strong. It's that vulnerability that we're able to share with you. We're not perfect people. We may have perfect intentions to bring you some of the topics and ideas that we feel you really need to hear and that really matter most. But our vulnerability and hopefully our transparency shows in what we're bringing to you.
And you know what, Adrian? Weakness is not a sign of failure.
No, absolutely
Weakness, identifying that weakness is present in your life means that you're actually welcoming growth, that you're willing to grow. When you cannot accept that, when you put the weakness aside, then how are you going to grow?
Right.
How are you going to grow? It's those challenges, those failure and weaknesses, criticism that make us unique, that make us stronger and make us resilient. So I just thank God for all the challenges that I go through on a day-to-day basis, or else I wouldn't be here right now, feeling confident, feeling stronger, and just vulnerable and able to fight self-doubt.
Yeah. One of my mantras is you grow through what you go through. And I've been through my share. And as we continue with our episodes and sharing these issues, I think more and more you begin to know a little bit more about us, sharing a little bit more of the journey that we've gone through, ups and downs, as Allison has shared with us. And we're so glad that you have joined us tonight.
What an incredible show. Tonight we had the privilege of hearing from Emily Kowalak, a woman who embodies resilience and determination. Also, Allison Wojciechowski, who reminded us of the power of perseverance and self-belief. Both women shared such practical, heartfelt insights on how to overcome doubt, and I really learned a lot from them. We were able to know and realize that letting go of negativity and building strong confidence is really all part of fighting self-doubt.
Absolutely, Candace. From Emily's analogy of the tug of war to Allison's focus on movement and moving in with forward momentum, tonight's episode was, as we like to say, a masterclass of learning and how to embrace growth and move past your inner struggles. Their stories, advice, our personal experiences, they're all lessons we can all take to heart. Thank you for joining us tonight for this episode of GSC Live, Doubt Detox. If you haven't already, please like and follow us on Facebook. Gentle Strength Connection is our page, and stay updated for our newest ventures, events, and resources for women.
Yes, thank you. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. We would love to see your opinions about self-doubt. What resonated with you? Maybe your life story. We'd love to hear whatever comments you have. Always stay tuned for more live shows and activities from Gentle Strength Connection, and have a beautiful, beautiful night. You are stronger than your doubt. And remember, at GSC Live, we're here to empower, inspire, and grow with you. Good night, everyone.